Hello and welcome to Bosch Professional Live UK. I'm Danny.
And I'm Chris, and obviously Ella's behind the desk as always.
Hi guys, don't forget, as this is a live stream, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat below and I'll throw them at Chris and Dan throughout.
So Chris, what are we looking at today?
Right, so we're going to do something slightly different to our normal regular programming. We're going to do a live stream on beginner products. So this is really an apprentice live stream. So for those in the chat who may be experienced or veterans of the live stream, you might find some of the content we're going to be talking about today a little bit more on the basic side. But as I said, this stream is really for those people that are starting to get into the trade. They're apprentices, they're just getting out there, and we're going to go through a number of tools that we recommend for the starting tradie out there.
Not just tools as well. We'll cover a few of the accessories that mean you're going to get good quality for a longer period of time, less money spent out on purchasing them as well.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to explain the concept of the you get what you pay for. Yeah. But it really matters when you're buying accessories that might last a lot longer.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, before we get too much into the products themselves, we are going to talk about a number of different products, but we are focused on those people, the savvy buyer, wanting to start with an affordable kit or an affordable array of tools. Now, we've never really discussed how we sell our products, okay? So it's important to know at this point that there are different ways that we package our products out there in the market. The most obvious one would be we obviously sell many of our products in an L box, okay? And typically this will be an L box with a battery and charger, maybe 2 batteries and chargers. Sometimes we even sell them with 3 batteries or more.
Yeah, you call that the full kit. Yeah. That's everything. Everything you need to get started.
Exactly. So often you might have a twin pack, for example, might be an example. There'll be a number of products that we're talking about in this live stream where, for example, you might have a combi and you might have an impact drive. That's a really great kit for anyone starting out.
Certainly a good starter pack,
right?
Yeah.
And when we say a twin pack in an L box, typically that's going to be one with a battery and 2 batteries and a charger for that twin pack. And that's typically a really good way to start when you're getting into the Bosch brand. So an L box or a twin pack with batteries and chargers, that's your first option.
Yeah.
You can also, so if you've, say, for example, already purchased a number of batteries and chargers, but you like the L-box stacking system, okay, you could also buy the product, as we call it, a bear in an L-box.
So you're looking at the basic machine, no bells and whistles, no batteries, no chargers, just the inlay in an L-box. So you've got the storage system there, but you haven't got all of the batteries that you already have, maybe from the previous full kit.
Right, and then the final variation out there would be what we call a carton only. Now, here's an example of a carton only for a charger, for example. So typically that would be probably the most cost-effective way of getting a machine. It's going to be the machine only, without an L case, without a case, without a battery and charger. So that's perfect if you've already got into the system, but you don't want to have an L-box storage system for your product. Maybe you want to put them into a number of bags for ease of use, for example.
Well, the beauty of buying it as a kit, sometimes definitely on our 12-volt machines, is they'll come in a box like this with a half L-box inlay.
Yeah, many do.
So you can actually create your own kit with 2 half boxes like this and an L-box, pop them together, they fit in there lovely, and away you go.
Now, many kits out there you might find come in the bags. We do a number of multi-piece bag kits, but it does often depend on what kind of variation of tools you're looking for in your specific trade starting out. Otherwise, we try and make it easy and affordable for you to build your kit up from the ground up.
And you can buy the bag to put them in. It's nothing to stop you.
Exactly. And if you want to know what kind of L boxes, bags, nylons, tote bags, carry cases, all that kind of stuff, then do check out the live stream where we go through our mobility system, where we go through everything we've currently got in our storage range. Now, right, so again, I've done my little preamble. What we're going to be talking about again is a good entry-level range of products. Now, before we get into too much detail, I thought we would talk about kind of sort of the basics again. So I do warn you, if you've just joined the live, obviously this is an apprentice-based live stream, so some of the information I'm sharing you probably already know. But so this is for the beginners out there, especially those who might be new to the Bosch Professional brand. If I grab the first machine as an example, before I go into the product in too much detail, as we always say in our training, everything that's red on a Bosch Professional power tool does something.
Yes.
Right, for the example I've got here, obviously the battery itself has
even when it comes to the battery, in fact, you've got the catch in the bottom and also the cool pack material underneath, which keeps the cells cooler.
A bit here. So obviously, look, the catch on the front allows you to easily remove, and you don't need it to reattach the battery. It just slides on like that and clips on as normal. On the bottom of many of our tools, especially these kinds of drills, you'll have yourself a small light of some kind. This has a single LED. Okay, with many of our products, they have a variable speed trigger. So you've got as much control as you need. Okay, you can dial the speed as high or as low as you want just using the trigger. You've got your forward and reverse here, okay? And you've also got a, in case you're not aware, you can also put it in the middle there, so you can almost act like a trigger safety. Yeah.
Trigger safety.
Okay, on the top, cut to the overhead camera very quickly, you'll see we've got a 2-speed gearbox in the top, okay? For those who are uninitiated, you've always got your first gear, just like in a car.
Yep, low speed, high torque.
And then you've got your second gear, which is the opposite.
High speed, low torque.
Exactly. On this particular machine, and we'll talk about it in a little bit more detail, this one's a combi. It's got the 3 modes on the top. Okay, so cut again to the overhead camera, you'll see you've got your screwdriving mode, your drill mode, and then you've got this little hammer button to indicate that this is in the percussion hammer. Yep. Okay, maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Yep. But you see here, when you're in the screwdriving mode, then this wheel here, this is a torque wheel or torque setting wheel. This comes into play. These are, how do you always describe it?
Linear units, basically. Well, we call meaningless linear units. They don't have an associated torque value to them. You start off on a lower torque setting and you work your way up until you can seat the screw at the perfect height each time. And you don't have to do that for each individual screw. If you're doing multiple screws through multiple material, then set it up once, then you can complete the job without many more adjustment.
Now, how many people always say is, why do we need that? Because I've got a trigger, got variable speed, and obviously you being the human being behind it, you can obviously just control the tool. Of course, absolutely. But imagine if, we always say, but after you've done your 100 or 200th screw, you might get a bit lax, a bit tired. This just means you can just do a little less thinking, which is always good on the job site. Which means you've just got a bit more consistency in how you're seeing. You don't want to overdrive screws for obvious reasons. You don't want to damage the material. So you can dial it in, as Danny said, and repeat as you want. Okay. Lastly, at the front here, you on pretty much all our machines now. Yeah. Well, especially of the 18-volt range.
Yeah, all the brushless machines all have a 13mm all-metal ROM chuck. Yeah. Again, we don't make our own chucks for these machines. ROM make really good chucks. Yes. So we use their chucks. It makes sense.
Now, the front of this chuck is this area at the front here, which actually is free moving essentially. And we've always asked people what they think this bit is for, and a lot of people think this is to stop you damaging the material. It's like, no. If that was to hit the wall, it doesn't matter, because this metal bit, the shiny bit at the front here, is going to hit the wall anyway. Yes. So what this is actually just to add a little bit of precision. So you can put your finger here as you're drilling, just to have an extra point of contact. Yeah,
just that bit of support.
That's right. Now, again, I'm going to point out, if you have just joined the stream, we are going to be covering a bit more of the basic stuff. But as soon as we get to the tools, then I'm sure you'll all have your input. Yeah. How do you fit bits to this? Very straightforward. As Dan pointed out, this is a all-metal 13mm ROM chuck, but it's also an auto-lock chuck, which means it doesn't require any additional accessory to fit accessories.
No at all.
And it's quite simply done. You just cut to the overhead very quickly, you'll see. Come on, let's wake up. Oh, it's having a bad day. Let's cut to the close-up camera instead. You'll see, all we do is you place the drill bit in, especially this one. This is a cylindrical shank one. Pop it in between the 3 jaws, right? Tighten it up, and then tighten it, and then this is the trick that we always forget to tell people. So 1 click back, and you'll hear a little click, and that's locked that drill bit in there. That's it. I've seen many videos online talking about this trick. Yeah. But really, it's just a feature that we haven't really told many people about, because we thought that's just pretty normal.
I mean, we even go to the lengths of writing auto lock on the chuck. It's never really hidden.
Now, it is quite easy sometimes, especially if you're relatively new to power tools, that you can actually get the drill bit in slightly wrong when you're tightening down the jaws, especially with a cylindrical shank drill bit, where you can get something like that. Let's see if the overhead's working now. No, it's thinking about it. There we go. You sometimes, if you don't seat the drill bit straight the first time and tighten that down, it will get stuck between the teeth.
Yeah, to be fair, it's not usually that bad, but yeah.
Well, I've exaggerated.
Exaggerated slightly there.
All right, so you just need to make sure that's nice in the center before you lock it down.
Yeah.
Tighten it down, and then 1 back to loosen. To remove it, you don't need to do anything other than turn it in the opposite direction, and then there you go. Okay, so a little bit of the basics done. Yep. Let's talk about this particular product, shall we?
Yes.
Right, so first one up. This is our newest entry-level brushless combi.
I really like this machine. Yeah. The size of it, because it's so small and so powerful.
So this is the GSB 18V-45. Okay. Now, with our naming structure, this one is a GSB, so this is a combi, essentially, 18 volt, surprise, 18 volt battery, and this is 45 Newton meters of hard torque. So that's the measurement we use for lots of our drivers, particularly combis and drill drivers. Yeah. Now, when it comes to speed, it's got the 2-speed gearbox, as we discussed. The first gear is the slower speed one, so it's 500 RPM. That's the one that gives you the maximum torque with that 45 Newton meters. And then if you pop it into second gear, then you're up to 19,000 RPM.
1900.
Sorry,
19,000 would be quite impressive.
Sorry, 1900, yeah. Now, if you pop it into the hammer action, that's when the pneumatic system, not the pneumatic, the percussion system kicks in. So that's what's going to chisel away at red brick, for example. You're looking at about 27,000, there's your 1,000 BPM, beats per minute. Okay,
Yeah,
so you want that to be nice and fast.
That's the reason why we can get 1900 RPM out the motor. Each one of those revolutions has probably about, I don't know, 20 or 30 separate impacts. So faster we can spin the motor, the more percussion impacts, the more efficient it is at moving material.
That's right, yes. When you send it to that mode specifically, you'll see that the chuck head itself moves back and forward, and that's that's allowing the motion to create that impact energy. Okay, so with all these bits, when in this mode, so to speak, obviously you're going to lean on the machine a little bit. Not too much, obviously. You don't want to damage the machine, but you are wanting to put a bit of pressure behind it to engage that hammer. It's not really a hammer, but that percussion mechanism.
You've got to close up the gap on that spring motion that you can see there, but that really just drops interlocking teeth together, or ramps, if you will, which operate and together give you the impact down the linear impact down the actual drill bit itself.
All right, so we've already kind of mentioned this is a brushless machine, right? So it's one of the reasons why it's powerful, right? And it's very compact. But again, because it's a brushless machine, it means you get a lot more runtime out of the battery. You get up to about 30% longer runtime just because of a brushless motor. So as a package, we're nice and small. What does it mean to you as the user? Well, performance-wise, you're looking at approximately 35 millimeters maximum diameter when working in wood. And then if you're working in your red brick, for example, or any kind of metal, steel, for example, then we say it's about 10 mil for both of those.
Yeah.
So typically that's why we always recommend, or this is why this is a really great product, if you're starting out in the trade and you're looking at Bosch as your first product, then this as a machine, single combi, it's probably a really good option, wouldn't you say?
To be fair, anything that you're going to be mounting to walls or anything like that is going to fall well in the wheelhouse of this particular machine.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I mean, 35 millimeter for wood is quite respectable, really, for such a small machine. We do obviously have much more powerful machines, and obviously it does depend on what primarily your trade is. We were discussing earlier in the week whether or not we should have split this live stream up into different kind of trades, but actually a lot of the machines overlap.
Yeah, I think combis are going to be they're going to be critical to most, if not all, trades, to be fair.
Okay, so well, that's a bit of a summary on the 45, which is a good entry-level machine, but we always like to ask whether or not you can push the budget just a little bit, because there are some massive benefits if you can just push your budget a tiny bit to move from an entry-level product to more like a mid-range product.
Yeah, the gain's exponential. You can get just anything from a little bit more safety to a lot more power. Makes more sense.
So let's take one minor step away from the 45. I say minor, there is another machine, a 55. But actually one of the machines I want to have a look at is one of these ones, Dan, which is, we have talked about this in the past. This one is the GSB 18V-90C. Yes. Tell us, well, you tell us what you think about this machine. Well,
this has got a couple of additional features. We've got all of the same features so far as gearing, percussion hammer, screw driving settings, the 20+1 gearbox, and straight drilling. 13 mil all metal ROM chuck, same as before. However, with this particular machine, we're running a connectivity.
Yes.
This allows you to customise the machine a little bit more. We've also got a couple of features on here, which are my favourite ones, which is...
There's your connectivity module, just in case, because we put it on the other side.
Yes, just to confuse things, we put it on the other side there. We also have kickback control on this, which is a massive, massive benefit for anyone out there. It doesn't take much rotation. Should your drill bit get caught in the material that you're drilling through, it doesn't take a lot of rotation or negative rotation to twist the bones over in your arm, your radius and your ulnar, and when they impact each other, the likelihood of snapping either one or both of them is greatly increased. I mean, and then at the end of the day, that's 6 months off work, and that's what you don't want to do starting out. Obviously.
That's right. I mean, generally speaking, yes, worry about your hand, arm. I mean, there are techniques and ways to hold the machine that might make it a little bit more safer to use. Obviously, having two hands on the machine is preferable, but we know sometimes it's not always possible, or it's easy to forget to do that.
Oh, very much so.
Okay, it doesn't come with an auxiliary side handle, so a lot of people think it's safe to use one-handed. And yeah, a lot of the tools are, well, power tools are power tools. They're not intrinsically safe. Well, that's the wrong way of saying it. They're not designed. They are still rotary machines. They've got a lot of power to them. So if they aren't used with respect, then they can cause injury.
The potential for injury is greatly increased.
Now, you made that comment about breaking or damaging or injuring the tendons and the bones in your wrist.
Yep.
That's one of them. I've seen many videos where people have been very close to the machine, actually hit themselves in the face with it because the machine will do a complete rotation.
Yeah,
so,
especially got a nice heavy battery on the end of it. Yeah,
and that's particularly going to be happening when you're in quite a compact or confined space and you're having to work very, very, very close to the machine.
Yeah.
So, in case you aren't aware what kickback is, it's a very simple, it's a sensor which detects any unwanted movement. So, example here, my finger's still on the trigger. I've initiated a fake version of kickback by moving with my wrist, flicking it like that. Obviously, when the machine kicks in, it's going to be a lot faster than that, but you see that it automatically switches off, and that can really help prevent an injury.
Yeah, you'll see the light flashing at the bottom here, and also red light indicating.
I'll do that again. So you see the LED flashes, the screen is red, and then when I let go of my trigger, it'll go green, and then you're ready to go again.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of the reasons why we really wanted to introduce this product. We are aware this is a more expensive product, which might be out of the range in your budget, perhaps, but this would be definitely something to consider if you can stretch that far, or definitely a really good upgrade if you can in the future.
That's it.
For the safety feature alone.
Yeah, both of these machines that we've talked about so far come in a drill driver and a combi drill, so one without percussion and one with percussion hammer. Again, a lot of people prefer to buy a machine specifically for the job that they're doing and not to purchase a machine with features that they're not going to use. So again, the option is there for you to tailor the machine to the actual application that you're going to be carrying out.
Now, we've mentioned this is a better machine. It's got the safety feature. It's also got electronic precision clutch,
which
just means that when you get to the rough torque value, using the torque settings on the top there, the torque modes, not modes, torque settings, sorry, it will just stop as opposed to just running off a disengagement clutch.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll get the clutch sound as you normally would, but you're only for a short period of time and then it would stop. Make sure that it's in screwdriver mode for that, though.
Yes, yeah. One other feature, actually, let me quickly test it.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, I'm a trained professional.
Trained professional.
All right. Okay.
There you go.
It's completely switched off. The clutch is disengaged, as opposed to continuously making that noise.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit quieter on side, and a bit more, less wear and tear as well.
Less wear and tear. Yeah, and it does give you the option of having a slightly more precise torque setting as well.
Right. But to those users out there that go, well, actually, I don't care about all this stuff. Why am I paying more? Well, essentially, you're going to pay more for a more powerful machine.
Yeah.
Right, so this has obviously got more torque than the 45. This is kicking out 64 Newton meters of torque as opposed to 45.
Yep.
And how that translates into performance, particularly in wood, then you're moving from 35 millimeter up to a much bigger 68 millimeters in wood. So that's going to cover most applications, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it comes to brick and steel or metal, it's still the same at 10 millimeters, okay? But really, you know, the power is necessary. The torque really is for working in things like timber.
Yeah, I mean, for anything from joinery or carpentry, then something like that, where you need that extra turning force to get through materials, then that's got you covered.
That's right. And then lastly, obviously, it's still got the two. It's still a brushless motor, and it's still got the 2-speed gearbox, but it's running a little bit faster at 630 RPM in first gear, and then up to 2,100 RPM in second
It's
gear.
an extra 200 RPM.
Yeah, so a little faster, and it's a little faster working for you.
Exactly.
Now, before we finish talking about combis and drivers, okay, there's one honourable mention. Again, we didn't want to talk about all the cheaper machines that we do in the range, the entry level, because this next one might be an interesting consideration because you're paying for quite a lot of machines in one, essentially,
exactly,
aren't you?
Yeah.
So this one might be interesting. So if we trade that one out, this machine out to the one you've got there, Dan.
Yep, I have here. This is the GSR 18V-90 FC. So this one we colourfully call a flex click. So this one contains multiple attachments for you to turn your basically combi drill, drill driver into a regular driver on 1/4 inch.
So much shorter.
Much shorter. And also there's a full selection of settings for it as well here. So you can see that it quite happily fits in a 1/4 inch screwdriver bit there.
And it's captive, so
captive one there.
Pull that back to remove that.
You've got your 13mm all metal rod and chuck, same as you have on the previous model.
So that's called a GFA 18M. Right?
Yes.
So that's a specific accessory that you can purchase if you don't buy it complete. Because what we can say here is you can buy this in different sets.
Yes.
You can buy it. I think you can buy it just as. think you buy it with this, and then you can buy it with a different variation of different heads that we'll show you in a minute as well.
We've been making these machines, these flex click machines, for a number of years now, probably best part of 15 years. The original attachments that fitted onto the original model will still fit this model here. So you haven't got to buy additional attachments for future generations of this. They will all fit.
That's right. And yeah, don't forget, because this is based on the 90, you've still got that kickback.
You've still got the kickback,
right. So it's very straightforward to attach. With this particular model, as opposed to the 12 volt, it does have a bit more of a robust fitment, so you're actually tying that down. It just cinches down, similar to how you tie in a drill bit into the chuck itself. And then to remove, it's the opposite. Very low effort.
Just twist to undo.
What some people like to do is actually a lot of people like to run this setup with, say for example, the drill bit they want in the chuck. They remove the chuck. Actually, I might set it up completely, as you can see. And then once they're finished drilling the hole, for example, they'll simply remove the chuck and then pop in the screwdriver bit.
It's perfect for rule plugs or something like that.
Exactly.
You run the hole, pop the rule plug in, pull the chuck off, put in your 1/4 inch drive bit, and away you go.
Okay.
A lot quicker than you'll find with opening the chuck and putting the 1/4 inch drive bit in the chuck. So it does work out a lot quicker. In addition, in the box comes a 1/4 inch drive bit holder that you can screw to the side here. So literally everything's on the machine that you'd need for that particular operation. So
so
a bit of kit.
This is one variation that we have, which is obviously quite basic. It's the fundamentals. It's a good option, chuck and the normal fitment of the 1/4 inch screwdriver bit, but we've got some other heads, haven't we, Dan?
Yes, so the next one we want to have a look at is the GFA 18E. So this is actually an offset attachment. So for kitchen fitters, this would be absolutely perfect for getting into awkward positions, especially up against the side of materials and into awkward corners without worrying too much about. So if I go to the overhead for a second, you can see there. There we go. See, we've got an offset fitment here. So you can get really close to the walls there without the body of the actual machine getting in the way. Should you need to adjust the angle, you can actually pull it out, twist it to wherever you need it, and then drop it back down again. And there you go. So you can go from one side. There you go.
Yeah, so perfect if you're doing any kind of appliance fitment, if you're a kitchen fitter, bathroom installer, whatever. If you need to get close to the wall to mount it something, or a cabinet, then this is far easier than maybe using, trying to do it at an angle or trying to use one of those flexible shafts or whatever. This is far more. Yeah,
you'll end up putting the screw in at an awkward angle and trying to sort of screw the two items together. Typically, fitting two cabinet or kitchen cabinets together. This will allow you to get into an awkward corner and really hide those screws away rather than sort of trying to pop them in at the wrong angle.
Yeah, very good, and obviously quite simply. Captive head for your screwdriver bits. Now,
to be fair, when I've used this before, you get used to using this really quickly. If I was doing maybe a fitting with say for instance, drilling with the chuck attachment, but you'd put your 1/4 inch bit in that. So you literally just go, take that off, put that on, and away you go.
Yes, that's just true, yes.
It's even quicker than taking it out of the machine.
Yes, you don't have to put anything into the machine. Right, okay, so we've covered two of the bits. So, again, while you're talking about trying to work in confined spaces, we could move to the GFA 18W, okay? This is essentially a right angle attachment for your captive for your screwdriver bits.
Yeah, really short head length as well. So this, again, allows you to get into awkward situations and drill at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah, so if you're working in a space little more than that, for example, right, you can quite easily pop your...
There's definitely enough space to get your hand down the back of the machine here and support it and just literally drive the screws in, so, yeah.
Okay, and then as we discussed, you can see you just pull the head out and you can move it in quite a large number of angles, actually.
Yeah, it's still got that twist lock function on there, so you can set it up exactly how you want it.
As opposed to, as you might have mentioned already, as opposed to having to remove it every time and refit it.
Yeah.
So you can keep it on the machine and make those adjustments. Okay, so let's pause for a second before we finish this machine, because I think we've got, I think Ella was saying we've got some questions already, so that's good. We might as well tackle them now.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few questions come in, but before I read the questions, it's probably worth mentioning Radine and Marcus are in the chat saying every apprentice needs workwear.
They do indeed.
They do, yep.
I'm sure they actually need a Bosch Professional hoodie, maybe a beanie as well.
Yes.
They need Bosch Professional UK, Live UK merch to wear on site, I think is what they need to.
And PF Cutters has asked, even though it's not a combi, do you think the GSR 12V 35 FC is the perfect starter drill, rather than the 45 you previously mentioned, as it's more versatile?
It's about power, right? So the 12V system is really good, really compact.
Yeah.
But I think typically speaking, many apprentices out there will be running an 18V platform or above.
Yeah.
In the UK specifically, 18V is still probably it is still definitely the main power performance.
Yeah, that's where the vast majority of sales go. I mean, down to, if you're talking about cordless sales, I know definitely through us, 90% of cordless sales are through 18V. So
yeah, and remember, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a little list of products for the general cross-trade apprentice. So yes, the 12V is an excellent machine, but if you need more power, and many trades do want a bit more headroom when it comes to power, then we think 18V is a good way to start. The 45 is technically more powerful than the 35 FlexiClick.
Yeah.
Because of the 18V versus 12V, really.
What we've talked about so far is more of your sort of your regular apprentice, maybe builder, joiner, carpenter, bricklayer, that sort of thing. If, for instance, you're setting out as an apprentice boiler repairer, for instance, the 12V will make a lot more sense to you. Light machine, good screwdriver attachments, even the FlexiClick versions, considerably cheaper than this, will give you that access to all of those different angles as well. So yeah, 12V, but it's horses for courses, isn't it? It's what you're planning on doing in your career, Pick the tool to fit. We've got plenty of choices.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we went for the 18V, again, because a lot of the market's 18V, but the range of products in 18V with us particularly is just wider than 12. Not saying the 12V range isn't big. There's a number of really great products in 12, but really, if you look at how many products we've got in 18V, far, far wider.
Yeah.
Someone said Bosch needs to design a GSR 18V FlexiClip with hammer mode and call it the GSB 18V FC.
Yeah, maybe something's being planned. Maybe something might come out that might do something similar. Can't give away too much, but it's definitely been thought out. I think that's all I'll say on that.
Yep.
Daniel has said, I have all my Bosch 18V gear in the L boxes, and there's a lot of room to put stuff in the box besides the tool itself. Is there a guide somewhere that tells me what the other areas are for?
So you've already got. He's already got L box inlays.
Yes.
All right. So maybe you're buying the L box bears.
Yep.
So go on. I interrupt you there, Dan.
Well, there's a couple of options for you. We can. On some occasions, L box inlays are notoriously difficult to find part numbers for. You may notice if you look in your machine, your L box or your L box inlay will have a number written on it. This is not a part number. This is a batch number or mould number for which they were created. They look suspiciously like part numbers, but they're not cross-transferable, so we can't go down that route. But we do have a listing of all these different inlays for 2 batteries, 3 batteries, charger, whatever charge you've got. Sometimes we can help you out and find an inlay that will fit the kit that you want. If we can't, however, we do also have pluck and pull inlays. So basically a foam block that fits in there and you just pull out the sections to pop the machines in you want. So we have a universal solution as well for you.
Yeah. Now, if you've already bought a machine and it's already got an inlay, but there's nothing in it because you've bought a bare version, then you'll probably see that a lot of those spaces are designed for either batteries, maybe a charger, or maybe some accessories that you can buy at a later date and add to it.
Yeah.
I often find that I use a lot of the spare space in the inlay. If I'm not running another charger or I don't have a charger in there, that's a really good place to put, say, an accessory set.
Yeah, pack of drill bits, maybe box of screws, that sort of thing. That's right. So there's space in there.
So I make even if it's not specifically designed for that, you'll see that there's a lot of the space there can be utilised for other things, or storing other tools, maybe some hand tools as well. So you can utilise it how you see fit.
Someone's asked, do the 12V GSR and GSB have metal chucks, or is it only the 18V models?
Currently, it's 18V.
Currently 18, yeah. The 12V have a 10mm chuck. However, the internals obviously are all metal, but the outside collar is plastic, yeah.
And the last question for now, is there any information about the L-Box first aid kits? Apparently it's been released in Norway.
I can cover that very quickly. Yes, we did want to bring the first aid to the UK as well, but there's a different regulation for first aid kits in the UK, which those ones, I don't know whether or not they fully conform to. It's one of those minor bureaucratic misalignments, so to speak, because the kits are really good, but in the UK, I believe we have a specific certification that it has to adhere to, and I don't think it does for whatever reason.
No, it doesn't currently.
But that doesn't mean it won't. I'm sure that our local team are working hard to see what they need to do. If they need to add something to it, or whether or not they need to get some kind of check done or certification.
I would imagine it's probably paperwork, to be fair. It usually sent down to that.
I've seen a few, and they're the one in the orange boxes, and they do look quite neat.
Yeah.
And well, I think we've got a couple floating around. We're not needed to use one, and we can vouch that hopefully we can bring it to the UK, because we can vouch that it's a nice kit.
Yeah, nice, good.
Okay, so back to it. I don't want to spend too much longer on the FlexiClick, because remember, we are trying to find some nice affordable entry-level products. But the reason why we are considering something like the FlexiClick is because, as we've shown already, this is more than one tool in one.
It's multiple tools.
Right, so you're spending a little bit of money, you're investing a bit of money in a really good tool to start with, because it is based on the 90. But you've got these additional heads. There's two more heads to look at. Next one I got here is, would you have a right angle chuck head. Okay, this will either be the WB or the WM, depending on which model you have. Okay, this works exactly like the screwdriver head, but as you can see, you've got a 13mm chuck. This one is
the WB.
WB, so this has got the plastic head, 13mm chuck, but there's also a WM, which you can imagine is a metal chuck. So essentially, you can
it'll be the same ROM metal chuck.
Exactly. Right. And then lastly, and this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to include the FlexiClick as an option, because of this thing here.
Yeah, so here, as you'd expect, this is a drill driver, so it's not a combi, doesn't have that percussion hammer. See, there you go. You had the same trouble last time, didn't you?
So what Danny's put on there is the GFA 18H.
Okay. So what this does is this turns your drill driver into an SDS hammer. Now
this is specifically why I wanted to bring the FlexiClick back here, because again, you've got all these great different kinds of attachment heads if you're working in difficult spaces, but maybe what you want is you just want a nice, simple, affordable, compact rotary hammer to work in concrete. Or brick, depending. Just want to be a bit more productive in brick. Then you've got a solution here without having to invest in a dedicated SDS rotary hammer, because many trades, you might still want one just occasionally to do a few fixings. Right? But you don't want to have to invest in a complete machine. Here we are. A nice little 1 joule of pneumatic energy, allowing you to drill up on maximum diameter in concrete and rebar reinforced concrete.
Perfect for lintels, anything like that. Any sort of fixings up to 10mm.
Yeah, there's an example there with a 7x 10mm 7x SDS plus bit. Okay, that's an absolute perfect setup if you can stretch that far. Okay, so. Nice good that we mentioned it. We've been talking about FlexiClicks quite a lot, partly because they're very popular machines out there. And they're popular not just because Danny and I keep talking about them, they're popular because people do really sing their praises on our behalf. We don't have to sell these that hard. People that know what it can do for them, right, and have thought about it, they're always willing to invest a little bit extra money to have such a excellent machine. So what we're saying, this is almost maybe 5 or 6 different types of machines in one.
That's it, and the bare model there just keeps getting better and better with each generation. So we're kicking out quite a lot of talk on this now.
Right.
So.
Okay, so we've had a look at some of the drill drivers or combis. Okay, let's have a quick look, just very briefly. I'll only spend maybe about 5 minutes max on some of the accessories we've got. First example, I'll hand this to you, Dan, while I put some machines away. We've got some hole saws, for example.
Yes, we have the tough material hole saw. This is the multi-construction one, I believe.
Yes.
So here you can see we're using the power change adapter. So if I go up close here, there you go. You can see the power change adapter there. Again, this has got a lockout system for the actual pilot drill, which pops out there, or the hole saw that clips on nice and easy like that. So 90% of the time using a hole saw, you spend removing the slug of material from the inside of the hole saw. However, we have cutaways at the side here, so you can easily remove the material a lot quicker. But yeah, the power change plus adapter it just makes sense on its own, really, doesn't it?
Right,
it's a fantastic bit of kit. Also, out there, if you have other brands' hole saws, you can buy these adapters here separate. So those little parts on the end. So you can screw them into other brand hole saws, and you can still utilise them with the power change adapter there as well.
A really nice versatile kit. Again, these are going to be for, well, this particular one is multi-material.
Yeah.
You may be just wanting a hole saw to drill larger diameter
Yep.
in wood, for example, and we've got a wide range of just more simple bimetal ones that are fine, they're functional, they work.
That's the progressors,
But,
yep.
Yeah, but the multi-material ones, again, they last a lot longer. And they've got a varied size from, I think it's about 20, and they go, I think we've used ones all the way up to a maximum like 152.
155, I think
Yeah.
it was. But again, these multi-material ones with they've got less teeth, but far more allows the teeth to cool down quite a lot. But these are quite vicious through material. So if you're running pipe work through a wall, which you don't necessarily need a perfect finish for, these are absolutely perfect for you. Get the job done really quick with that.
Right.
Especially pop that in a 90-degree flex click, and away you go. You can get that into all sorts of spaces. The other ones, the tough material ones, if you were to happen to hit a brick with it, it's not going to damage it.
No.
You're looking at carbide teeth on these, laser welded to the main body of the actual hole saw itself. They're tough.
That's right.
They'll go through most things. I mean.
Right. So, I mean, the example here, this one is obviously better designed really good for working in brickwork if you need it to. Good for, as we know, it's any kind of like laminate or resinoidal wood, so
Yeah.
OSB, anything that burns, like plywood, for example, is pretty rough. We found that this is actually particularly good.
Yeah.
Now, the other one, the tough material one, is the one with more teeth. That one means it can do very much the similar. It can do woods as well. It can work in brickwork. It can do soft tiles as well. But the difference between this one and the other one that we haven't got here, the tough material one, is that one is far better. It was designed to work in metals as well.
Yeah.
So again, it's completely down to you. We've got lots of different hole saws as an example. We've got hole saws that allow you to work specifically in tile, or we've got metal. I'm trying to look at what we've got in here, for example. What have I got in here? Oh, got too many drawers.
No.
Yep. Right, so example, you've got ones for these diamond ones for working in tiles, soft tiles. There's an example of a bimetal progressor.
That's a progressor. You'll see that for many years now we've been using this exact same adapter on the end. This was for the power change adapter. This is the power change plus adapter. So we have, you may well have one of these out there already. This part here was black. The pilot drills were slightly different as well, but they've been updated so the pilot drills don't wobble around as much. Much better at self-centering the hole saws. But as you can see, if you've got any old hole saws with those attachments, you can still use them on the same adapter. We haven't keyed out any previous accessories from the new Power Change Plus system.
And also, don't forget, we will also make, you've got ones with sheet metal and more the expert ones, better ones here, more expensive ones also for working in sheet metal.
Yeah, they'll glide through stainless steel, no problem at all. And if you're looking at a metal material that's going to blunt a hole saw, stainless steel is going to be the one, but that will fly through it.
Yeah, so again, our recommendation is, I know, look, we're talking to apprentices, I know that money is not always something you've got a lot of, but if it's one of those things, if you can stretch out just a little bit and purchase things using tungsten carbide as opposed to, say, bimetal, you might find you save money in the long run because you're not going to be wearing out your accessories anywhere near as quick.
Exactly. It's the buy cheap, buy twice type thing. The more money that you pay up front, these things are going to last a long time. You get far more wear and tear out of them.
Right, this makes the most sense when it comes to accessories for beginners out there, even seasoned tradies out there.
Yeah.
Multi-material, tungsten carbide drill bits.
These have been out there for quite some time now. There's a good reputation for them. I think people now understand how good these drill bits really are.
Cut to the overhead very quickly. I'll show you two different types. Okay, let's see if it's going to play ball. There we go. Right, you've got your cylindrical shank, and we've got the hex shank here. So the hex 9 and Seal 9. Okay, so these are tungsten carbide, so a much harder material like the teeth on those hole saw bits.
You'll find actually, if I pop that one just off your hand there, keep it on the overhead. I don't know how close up there I can get, but just at the tip there, you'll find from here outwards that part across the end there is a solid carbide blade. So it's sharpened. It's laser welded into the shaft of the actual drill bit itself. So the drill bit's not carbide. I mean, the cost of that is ridiculous.
It's unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. But the end tip there is a sharpened carbide single tooth.
Yeah. So why do I recommend these to? I recommend these to everyone. If you're a DIYer, I recommend multi-construction bits. If you're a professional or an apprentice in the professional trade, I recommend these. If you're a seasoned professional, I recommend these. Why? Because it's multi-material, right? And it can do all kinds of material. It can work to a degree in concrete. Not designed for it, but if you need to, it'll get you out of a pinch. If you want to work in soft tiles, it will do it, right? So if you're a kitchen fitter, a bathroom fitter, these will allow you to put some of the raw plugs in.
Lovely in soft tile. Really
this will go through soft tile and then into the brickwork behind it without having to change, okay? You can do steel, metal, you can do woods, and you can do plastics, all with the same bit. You can do it all in one go if you wanted to.
Common misconception is it does look suspiciously like a masonry drill bit, just because of the design of it. But if literally you can go through multiple materials, and this is how we demonstrate it normally, go through multi-materials, end up with a nice solid red brick, sometimes even aerated concrete, and then go back and do a soft tile afterwards. And you'll find that it cuts through the glazing on the soft tile as well as it did the first time round.
Exactly.
And we do this demo over and over and over again with the same drill bit.
Now, if I cut to the overhead very quickly, again, I wanted just to show the two different types, okay? So we've got the Seal 9 and the Hex. Oh, where is it? Come in. There we go. You've got the two different tyres. You've got your cylindrical and you've got your hex, okay? Now let me quickly pop one into the machine. You'll see that obviously the cylindrical is how you'd expect it to be. However, actually I'll put that back on. I won't talk about the cylindrical because that makes a lot of sense. The hex, okay? Because the hex will work in a 3-jaw chuck, it's actually a more positive fitment because it's hexagonal shaped, which means you've got a solid edge for the teeth to lock onto. There we go. So hopefully you can see that. So just check you see that in the overhead. Yeah, a much more positive lock there.
Yeah, it's not just the friction of the teeth pushing down on a cylinder. Obviously, you're going to get the possibility of drill bit slip there. You don't have that in this situation. It's held on 3 different separate flats, much more secure.
And in addition, because it's a hex bit, it means it can fit into any of your drivers that just have the screwdriver bit. So that, when we talk about our impact drivers very quickly, you'll see that is a great benefit.
Perfect for that machine here, because as we said before, this doesn't need the hammer function to operate. It doesn't need that percussion hammer. Because instead of actually breaking up the material or smashing up the materials you usually find on a masonry drill bit, this is actually cutting it.
Yeah.
So it does a far more efficient job, a much quieter job.
Less vibration.
Less vibration, less feedback. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So not only is it better for you, the user, because you're going to create less. It's going to be less uncomfortable to use because of the vibration. You probably won't. Well, we still recommend hearing protection, but more importantly, you won't be producing a lot more noise that could be a nuisance to if you're working in people's houses. You might be annoying the neighbours or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot quieter, a lot less vibration, and you don't have to run that percussion hammer noise. There's a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
Plus, more importantly, as I said, one drill bit to rule them all.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to buy a set for my neighbours, to be fair. That's a good idea.
Right. So multi-construction. Okay. Don't underestimate how much of a benefit that could be to you. Again, even if you're an apprentice, they're not even that expensive.
No.
They're so affordable. No. I recommend you have a set of those, and that's what you could get away with doing probably about 99% of your applications with the same drill bits.
I was genuinely surprised. This would do steel box section as well.
Yes. Well, we haven't found anything. I mean, with the exception of really hard concrete, and it will do it, but really hard concrete and maybe porcelain are probably the only 2 things it will struggle with. But I say struggle, it will do it. If you're in a pinch and you really have to drill that hole, it can do it. But bear in mind, it's not designed for it, and it will prematurely wear.
I would say probably careful of heat build-up.
Yeah.
I mean, that probably be the Achilles heel of it.
Yeah, I mean,
when it comes to using it outside of its normal parameters.
Yeah, we have tested it with porcelain. Again, not designed for hard ceramic, but with water, you can really long it out.
Yeah.
And get quite a lot of productivity done on an accessory that we're already saying is not designed for it.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got other bits for that are far better.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So some questions, Ella.
I thought it was worth mentioning whilst we're on the topic. Radine said, "I've used my multi-material bits for every material imaginable, and it's not dull at all."
No.
Yeah, that's it. It speaks for itself, really.
Yeah, Dan always makes is really particular when he says, look, I'm going to drill through some metal, I'm going to drill through all in one go plastic and some brick and then some plasterboard, and then I'm going to go back to a tile and I'm going to drill a really clean, precise hole.
That's it.
Right? And that's the power. It stays sharp, it stays precise for such a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, so really consider, obviously buying a good machine, but if you mix it up, if you join it up with a top of the range multi-construction accessory, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, we manufacture our own carbide in-house, so you're talking about some serious hardness we can get out of these. What is it, on the Mohs scale, we reckon about 9.7, something like that. So it's approaching the levels of diamond, to be fair, with regards to hardness. At the end of the day, when it comes to cutting through a material, you cut through the material with another material that's harder than it.
That's right. Yeah, it's definitely in the 9 scale.
Yeah.
I think it was, yes. Right, okay, so we spent too much time talking about drills,
Yes.
but that's important
No, it's
because
fine.
we know
Yes.
that's a really important segment to start with. Now, there's only one part of the beginner puzzle, okay? My opinion is the 2 machines you should have as an apprentice, almost irrelevant in trade, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here in the chat. You're going to have a combi, and you're probably going to have some sort of impact driver.
Yep.
So Dan, I think you've got the first example, one of the machines that we have to talk about.
I've got one of them here. This is the GDX 18V-210. Sorry, not 210, the 200. We'll leave the 210 for a minute.
Let's go start with the 210.
You want to start with the 210?
Let's start with the 210. Yeah, sorry.
That's the 210. There you go.
All right, yes, the 210, okay? So this is the one we would recommend. Why? Because it's got a number of really good features that are beneficial for the tradie out there. But we will talk about the next machine as an alternative, I think is what we're going to do.
Yes, no, that's fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what's so special about this machine? Well, first off, we must talk about why we call it a GDX, right?
Yes, this is anything with an X in the name you'll find is more of a hybrid machine. This one, as you can tell, it takes a 1/2-inch socket. So basically it's an impact wrench. In addition to that, it will take a 1/4-inch driver bit. So it's an impact driver. So you get multiple uses for this particular machine. I think if you were going for either of them, I'd always go for the GDX.
It's a slight price increase. It's a slight premium, but not that high. But you get you're getting two machines
for the one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll find these in kits as well with combis regularly. It makes sense to have those 2 separate machines. Why I always say the advantage of this is if you're going to a job where you're going to be driving wood screws all day long, say decking or framing, if you get a flat on the van, you've got an impact wrench to take the wheels off as well. So again, it's an all-rounder really, isn't it?
Yeah, from my perspective, one of the reasons why I think it's a good recommendation is because, as you can see, you've got the screwdriver bit in there, but depending on what kind of sockets you're running, you can actually have them on top of each other. Again, very similar to how we had the flex click system. Just the convenience of having both on it at the same time means that you don't have to have 2 machines, and also you don't have to go looking for certain drill bits. It's already on the machine already. Screwdriver bits are already on the machine. Okay, very, very briefly about this. I think you mentioned it already. Obviously, it's 18 volt, 210 Newton meters of hard torque, and it's connected as well. Now, this one's got the A/B function mode, which means you can program this tool to do a number of things.
That's it.
Another reason why I thought it'd be an interesting one to have as an apprentice. Why? Because it helps dial in and get rid of some of that human error that you might have when you're starting out, okay? Because you can program this tool to be far more precise and help with the job.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
Because these are very fast machines. It's quite easy, believe it or not, to lose a bit of control. Obviously, it's got a variable speed trigger. And also, it has, if I cut to the overhead very quickly, you see if you've got play ball, you see it's got these 3 speed settings here. 3, 2, 1, okay? You can program those in the app to whatever you'd like them to be, but you've also got the normal presets that you can see, if you can hear it on the microphone. Okay, so you can dial that in to have a little bit more control over speed and a little bit of control over the max torque.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of versatility in one machine, 2-in-1 bit holder. I think that's a good place to start.
The A/B functionality, for instance, you can set custom settings, up to 25 separate custom settings on that, with images, so you can have a picture of the material, picture of the screwdriver, or the screw you're actually using in that material. If you're starting out, you can create an entire library of fixings and materials for you to work from in the future. So it's just a matter of getting your phone out. I'm working in beechwood decking, for instance. Hardwood material, 70mm screw, click the button, and away you go.
That's right.
And you'll see every screw perfect every time.
Yeah, I was going
without even thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of the younger generation, having a loadout, a preset for the tool is not the most unusual thing to have.
You've got to try and get them to put the phone down after the setting and put it back in their pocket and get on with what they're doing, but yeah.
Right, okay, so Honestly, if you want to know more about this tool, feel free to watch either one of the earlier live streams we did where we talked specifically about impact drivers and wrenches, where we went into a little bit more depth on the AB mode. I think we've actually got a couple of live streams where we've gone into detail. Maybe it was one of the connectivity-based
ones. Yeah.
If you really want to understand that, we've got a number of videos. It's quite in depth, but really, if you're interested in this tool, you have to check that out, because if you buy this machine and you don't use the AB mode, you're really missing out. But if it's a little bit too pricey or you don't want any of these settings, then we've got this one, the one that Dan got out initially.
Yes. So this one here's the GDX 18V-200. Hasn't got the bells and whistles that the last one had, hasn't got the adjustable speed control. However, you do still have the adjustable trigger, so you can adjust the speed anyway.
Right. And you've got the GDX.
And you've got all the advantages of the GDX attachment there with the 1/2-inch sockets and the 1/4-inch drive pins.
Slightly less torque at 200 Newton meters, more than enough as far as I'm concerned. That loss of 10 Newton meters is not a big deal, and it's still running a brushless motor, and it's a nice compact machine at 147 millimeters.
Yes.
It's all you need, bells and whistles. If you want something a little bit smaller, then you can move to a dedicated GDR. We haven't got one here with us in the studio, which doesn't have the dual fitment system. It just has a 1/4-inch internal hex.
Realistically, you're talking maybe 15 mil shorter head length, but there's not a lot in it.
But there's a big wide range, and again, if you are wanting to buy an impact wrench, or impact driver, I should say, then feel free to watch that previous live stream, because we go through the entire range that we've got. Or the 18-volt special is another good one to watch if you want to see the entire range. But we've got a really good choice of what product, a good choice of impact drivers and wrenches.
I mean, if you're getting into automotive, for instance, we do a 1/2-inch that goes all the way up to 1,000 Newton meters. So, and that comes with all the functionality as well, the last machine. So, depending on your budget, yeah, perfect. There's an option out there for you as well.
Okay, moving on, because I'm concerned about time. We like to talk far too much sometimes. We're going to move to this bad boy. Right, so we've talked about impact drivers, we talked about combis and drills. There for your fixings and your drilling holes into your bricks and your wood and stuff. What you might need is a dedicated STS rotary hammer. Here's a great example. This is the GBH 18V-22.
I know that you really like this machine.
I absolutely love this machine. This was my pick of last year. This was your present to me, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Right.
Christmas, yeah.
I'll take this front bit off first to talk about the machine, and I'll come back to this dust collection box in a second. Now, this machine is, as I said, a rotary hammer, so this is designed to drill into concrete. This is designed to drill up to a maximum of 22 millimeters in concrete and rebar reinforced concrete. It has an optimal drilling range of about 4 to 12 millimeter, so your typical fixings, but if you really need it, it can go up to 22, not a problem, okay? Now, one of the reasons why I like this machine specifically is the fact that, yes, it is a 1.9 joule machine. Okay, it is running up to just over 4,500 BPM, which is 4,675 BPM, and it's very fast at around 1,050 RPM. These rotary hammers don't tend to be as fast RPM as an impact driver, for example.
No,
they're in the 3,000s mark, 3,500.
It's not about the speed at which the drill bit turns, it's about the force behind it that breaks the material up.
But for a nice small compact machine, it's only 2.3 kilograms without a battery. It's a really nice compact design. But really, I've kind of been beating around the bush there, because really what I like about it is the fact that this is the first entry-level machine that has that kickback control you saw on some of the combis. I'll demonstrate it very quickly. Okay. Machine trigger still pulled, machine has disengaged for safety, and back on again. Okay, simple as that.
Makes a lot of sense on basically our smallest SDS hammer, really.
Yeah, I mean, when you are drilling in concrete, it's very easy to catch something. It could be a stone if you're working in natural stone. It could be rebar if you're working in concrete. It could just be you've got it at a funny angle because you're a bit unfamiliar and you're still learning the rope, so to speak. Tools rotating out of control is probably going to be the #1 injury, especially when you're starting out.
What you've got to remember is all of these machines, all of these SDS hammers that we do, the SDS Plus and the SDS Max hammers, have a mechanical clutch that will disengage when the drill bit gets locked or stuck. However, only disengages if you've got hold of the side handle properly in the correct orientation.
And if you do it if you're going to be like all the rude boys out there, running it one-handed over the head like that.
Yeah, and that's still in the box.
That's still in the box, probably in the bin actually. That won't help you at all. Mechanical clutch won't protect you in that case.
In case you're not holding the side handle or you're not using the side handle, we still have the kickback there as a fail-safe to prevent that from actually happening.
Really don't underestimate how good that is. And again, in an entry-level machine. On top of that, it also has vibration reduction. It has a little bit of a decoupled handle here to help reduce the vibration you're going to get. It reduces it down to as low as 9.4 meters per second squared, which is pretty good for such a small hammer. Okay, and I think that's about. And what else can I say? And then lastly, of course, the dust extraction box.
Yes.
Okay, so you've got a GDE 12 here. Okay. Simply attach it to the front here. I'm going to quickly switch the machine on for a second, and you'll hear the fan activate, which creates a vacuum and pulls dust in through the hip. Okay, and that is pulling the dust from here, where we're in contact with material, and it pulls it into this small little box, which has a small little HEPA filter, which collects the silica dust particulate. Particularly useful if you're working in someone's house and you don't want to have to spend time doing cleanup. It's good for protecting your health generally and the occupant or your client. But again, imagine if you're working overhead as well.
Yeah, it makes an awful lot of sense.
Keep the dust out of your face as well. Even if you are wearing correct PPE, it's messy and also not particularly nice.
Well, at the end of the day, if you're using the PPE and you get covered in dust, the dust is still on the outside of the PPE, so you still want to walk it around the place, otherwise.
So a really nice little kit there. We've talked about how you can purchase some machines that you can buy in a carton or an L box with batteries and chargers. We also sell this as a variant with the dust extraction box as part of it, and you get that in size.
It's a really nice kit. All fits in the same L box. It's all in there, everything you need.
But really, when we're talking about price as well, we don't really talk about pricing here. It's not really our things as trainers, but really quite affordable. Even as a complete kit, it's not prohibitively expensive for an entry-level STS rotary hammer with dust collection. That's going to do a lot of work.
I have trouble referring to this as entry-level, considering it's got a lot of the features and benefits that we usually have on our mid-range or higher machines.
Yeah, I mean, I've even forgotten to say that it's brushless. Of course, it's brushless. Yeah, so it's pretty much got a lot of the features that our premium machines have. The only thing it's missing really is connectivity and a control interface. But at this price point, for the apprentices out there, I'm sure that's not something you really need at this stage. Okay, so Ella, I think we might have a few questions maybe.
Yep, PF Cutters has said, the GBH 18V 22 is a brilliant little machine. However, an SDS 12V rotary hammer would also be a go-to for an apprentice.
Yep. A dedicated one, you probably already know. We have a FlexiClip one that has the same as an 18V STS attachment, but you probably want something dedicated, maybe a little bit more power, because that's only 0.9 joules. Yeah,
we've raised this. Definitely, it's something that we could see there'd definitely be a market for. It's just a matter of keeping an eye out there, and we're going to do the same as well.
Yeah, agreed. But when in the 18V range, this is, as a brand, relatively brand new, I think it was the beginning of the year, I'm so happy that we've got this added to the range.
PF Cutters has also asked, are there plans to create mixed kits in the future for jigsaw blades, hole saws blades, recip saw blades, router bits like you do for the combi drill bit kit for apprentices?
One kit, one big accessory box. We do mixtures per category, if that makes sense. We do obviously have jigsaw sets and we have hole saw sets. We don't tend to have one set that has it all because it's just it's too hard to get the right range, isn't it?
Yeah, if you don't want to buy a kit that's got accessories in it that you don't need or use. So,
no, and again, because we've got such great expert stuff. That's quite affordable if you buy the specific ones you want, really. I think, as Danny was alluding to there, that if you get too many accessories in there, they have to be of a certain quality because we're not going to make we're not going to put anything out that's cheap. You don't want to be spending money on things you're not going to use, isn't it?
What I would say, get yourself an L-Box Max, one of the big ones. Get the separator system that goes inside that, and then just fill it through your accessories that you actually want. That's probably the easiest way of doing it.
Big one. I was going to go with the LS system.
Oh, you can go small if you want to make
I'm a bit more precise. I like having everything in its own little compartment.
Yeah, but they are in the L-Box Max. You can put the separator in there. Depends how grand you want your accessories box, but there's always opportunities out there. There's always possibilities for you to create a storage medium that you want.
Oh, it just occurred to me. We should have brought the tote bag out.
Yeah, it's
a good place to keep all your stuff nicely organised instead of having to have an L-box. Yes, we'll have it. Maybe we have to have an apprentice section part 2.
Yes, maybe.
Okay, yes. Okay, so I've got in my head. Ella, any more questions?
Another question, what would you suggest is the better jigsaw for an apprentice? The GST 18V 12.5S 125S or the GST 18 volt 155 SC.
Well, we're running a little bit slow, a little bit late, but we are going to talk about jigsaws. We might have to hurry up a little bit and get to that section, but we have a good. Okay, no more questions, so we'll get to that in a moment. Before we do that first, however, we want to talk about our multi-cutters.
Yes.
Right, you've got 2 examples. Let's just grab the newest one.
That's the newest one there. So this is the GOP 18V-34. 3.4 degrees of oscillation on this particular machine. Great bit of kit, really low vibration. Nice setup when it comes to battery orientation as well. So you can fit the largest batteries on there should you need to. I can't imagine you wanting to be using this machine for that length of time, but you can if you want. Yeah, the vibration is remarkably low on this particular machine, really comfortable to operate. Small gripping handle, 2-stage switch, so you have a light on the first setup, there you go, and then the second stage of the switch actually powers up the machine. Speed control on the left side of the machine there, and of course we're running the Starlock system with the tool-free blade change. You having trouble keeping up?
No, I'm on it.
There you go.
On and off. We've talked about this many times.
Yeah.
The ability to pop the blade on with one hand. You don't need an additional accessory or pin to hold that on.
Exactly.
You don't have to touch the blade when it's hot either.
Exactly, yeah. So there's no risk of you burning yourself with it.
Right, so I think I was trying to demo some of the stuff, like a little Debbie McGee there while you were doing it.
I was going pretty quick.
Oh, but it was good, but as you saw there, I popped the 12 amp hour, the big triple layer Procore battery. And because we've orientated the battery in a different way, it doesn't get in the way of the clearance like the older machine had.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't have done that on the older machine here. For instance, if I pop that on there,
so
I couldn't get down to a material to actually do a flush cut on there.
No, so a good redesign. Obviously, a multi-tool I think is essential for nearly every trade out there, and I think it's going to be a really great tool if you're an apprentice to have some form of multi-tool. I mean, originally it was your problem solver to get you out of a bind.
Exactly.
Now it's probably an integral product that has so many different features. When it comes to the accessories themselves, we have got so many blades. I think we've got do you know what? We've got a live stream.
What's the live stream?
Yeah. I think we said we've got about 120 different accessories. We cut to the overhead very quickly. You can see we even where is it?
Colour code them.
We even colour code them, so you can see we've got
purple.
No, let's go the other way first.
Oh, you're gonna get.
Yeah, no. We've got our brown here.
Debate between us over the colour, but yeah.
That's not pink anyway. So you've got your brown colour here for your abrasives. You've got your wood grey for wood. You've got your white for wood and metal. So if you've got wood with nails in it, for example.
Perfect for demolition.
Yeah,
if you don't know what's actually in there.
You've got your dedicated blue here for a metal, and then you've got this purple, mauve, lavender, whatever colour you want to call it, for your multi-material.
Yeah. These are all plunge blades on this side here. This one here, obviously the segmented blade. Rule of thumb is for the plunge blades, this shape here is for plunge cutting into material. The segmented blade is for cutting along material. So we do have a blade here that's actually a good all-rounder for both of those. We've got the Multimax blade there, the Dual Tech blade. That's perfect plunge blade on that one, but also allows you, if I pop it on the machine here, it'll be easy to show you. So I can plunge into a material, and then I can twist the machine to one side, and then I can distance cut with exactly the same blade. Plus the fact this is carbide tech as well on this blade, so it's going to last you a long time.
Yes, and that's the reason again why I wanted to very quickly talk about some of the accessories. For an apprentice, perhaps again, multi-material. We have a wide range of multi-material blades that have different applications, but multi-material might be one of the best choices for you. So you don't have to actually buy lots of different specialist blades. You buy your jack of all trades. It's made out of carbide, tungsten carbide, with an extra coating as well for extra longevity. You have a small number of blades for all your different applications. So less complex systems, less accessories as well. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, a dedicated blade to a dedicated material is always going to be a faster cut and is superior in that particular machine. However, a multi-material will do multi-materials.
Yeah, and
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and again, when you're learning, it's very easy with the multi-tool blades to damage them. If you, for example, were using the wood blade and you accidentally went too deep and you hit brick, then unfortunately you'll damage that blade. With the multi-material blade, you're going to have a lot more freedom to make those mistakes.
Well, you've got to remember,
damaging them.
these are consumable items. They are going to wear out. It's just we're designing blades now with tougher materials, more exotic materials, to get more use out of the blades that you actually have.
Yes, cool. Okay, we'll move on. We've already talked about this machine in far more detail when we talked about it as a new product, and it was new products of the year.
Yep.
So feel free if you want to watch that video to find out more about this. But instead, let's go to the next product, which is going to be a circular saw. All right.
I'll pop these back up here. I've got the circular saw as
Yes,
well.
okay. So a circular saw, is it an essential tool for a beginning trader? I think possibly, depending on what trade you've got.
Yep.
Many people use it for a lot of different applications. So this machine is the GKS 18V-57-2.
Yes.
This is our new second generation 18-volt lithium-ion circular saw.
I think put this alongside the old 57. This one stands out as by far superior.
Much smaller?
Much smaller. We're talking brushless motor on this now, so if I hold that over towards the other camera there, can you see there's really narrow machine.
Yep.
So whereas the brushed one was out here, so again it's much more compact, good sized base plate, cuts over bevel angle 45 degrees as you'd expect with one of these machines. Not guide rail enabled. This is just a standard regular base, cast alloy base on this one for extra lightweight.
Yeah.
But again, it's a lovely machine, nice depth of cut on it. 57mm maximum depth of cut.
Yeah, running a nice standard 165mm blade.
Yeah.
So, and this one's actually one of the ones that's got the new dust extraction system, the
So
click and clean.
you can click that to your Bosch extractor, or if you haven't got a Bosch extractor, you can use a regular push fit 34mm.
That's right. Yeah.
Connection.
It doesn't come. Look, as Dan said, doesn't come guide rail enabled, but you do get a parallel guide to help you do some of those straight cuts when necessary as well. So a nice, straightforward. I say straightforward. It's very powerful. It's very fast by turbo brushless machine. 5,000 RPM. It will do everything I think you would need to do as an apprentice.
Yeah. And I think I say if you wanted that extra little bit of performance out of it, pop yourself an expert blade on there.
Yes, again.
And do a full range of expert blades for this machine as well.
Not just wood.
No, not just for wood. With fibre cement, you name it, we go through most things.
Yeah, fibre cement, laminate, or high pressure laminate, and you even can do aluminium as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So depending on what blade you put in it, great choice. But as Dan said, if you can again stretch out a little bit of money to buy some nice accessories for it, you'll get a blade that's going to cut nicer, faster, and probably last a lot longer.
Yeah, it'll definitely last a lot longer, yeah.
Right, so circular saws, let's move on to another tool very quickly again. I think I've got one here on my side.
Yep, you've got that.
Okay, I'm going to look very quickly at an angle grinder. And you might be like, why an angle grinder? Is this a bit more specialist? Well, it depends on what accessories you've got, okay, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So what I've got here is I've got an example of one of our X-Lock grinders. This is the GWX 18V-7. Okay, this is a 700 watt equivalent grinder. It's X-Lock, which means it has the quick release system, very similar to Starlock. So a simple off button at the top here, and placing the blade on, and you've probably seen Dan and I do this a million times. Complete, tool-free, quick and easy blade change, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into the details on why the X-Lock system specifically is really good, okay? I really want to just talk about the possibility here of having a grinder. I've got the wrong guard on that one, I've just noticed, but a grinder being used almost like a multi-tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got an example here of a carbide multi-wheel. So this is going to be useful for cutting in lots of different materials. This will be fine for wood, metal, embedded wood, plastics, and plasterboard and stuff like that.
There's not really much soft material that phases this particular blade. It'll just fly through most of that.
Okay, so this is where people are starting to use grinders more like multi-tools in the way to do lots of different things. I think, Dan, you might have an example under that diamond blade. You might have one of the diamond metal wheel in 115.
Yep, that's the 115.
So here's the other option. We've talked about this in some of our metal working live streams, so slightly different. This one doesn't use carbide grit, this uses diamond grit. So it's designed to do a few more things, so this can work in more metals essentially, harder materials. Not really designed to work in tile. That's a different accessory we can talk about another time. But this is fine working in metal, steel, cast iron. Anything else you want to work in that the carbide one won't be able to do. So between these two accessories, that means that you can turn your small angle grinder into a nice multi-tool in some way.
If you're talking about with the diamond cutting disc there, the diamond multi-wheel, if, for instance, you're a metal fabrication apprentice, for instance, there's lots of apprentices in lots of different fields, something like that would be perfect for you. You're not having to deal with bonded abrasive discs going out of date, potentially harming yourself. It's a solid disc there. You can leave that in your toolbox for months, years without actually using it. Pop it straight on a grinder and away you go. It's not something that you have to keep an eye on or have to worry about fracturing.
Again, the reason why I wanted to bring these types of blades into this apprentice live stream, again, these are a lot safer than bonded abrasive for your reason, which is to do with making sure they stay in date, but also these are steel discs, which means if you're a little bit more inexperienced and you're perhaps twisting the blade when cutting, you're less likely to cause well, not less likely, you can't get a disc burst with one of these.
That's it.
Right, so that's a lot safer, again, to use these kinds of accessories.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right. Obviously, we recommend you should be using the correct cutting guard. So not this guard. This is a grinding guard. You have a correct cutting guard when working, and preferably have some form of dust extraction as well. But these kinds of accessories are the ones that I'd recommend for many people out there. Again, blue for expert. Again, you're paying a little bit more, but you're getting up to, 50 to 100 times longer lifetime using these accessories, carbide and diamond, depending. Yeah,
so these are obviously cutting accessories. However, there's a full raft of grinding accessories as well. We won't cover in detail because I think we've covered that many, many times on the live streams before. Have a look at the X-Lock live stream, and it covers all of the abrasives and everything on there as well. So not really that necessary now to have your bonded abrasive training. There's options out there to allow you to do your job without necessarily having to jump through the hoops of the legal side of things when it comes to using bonded abrasives.
Right. Okay, we've talked about grinders now. We'll talk about multi-tools. Okay, that's our multi-tool section done, essentially. Let's go back to a traditional product that was asked about earlier. Let's have a look at some jigsaws. You've got
I have the
one example.
Yes.
You've got one. I don't know if that's the one we want to talk about yet, but that's fine. Let's talk about that one. Let's talk about this one.
Yep, so here we have the GST 18V-115.
125.
Sorry, 125B. This is the bow handle version. There's also an S version of these, which is actually the barrel grip one. So this is literally just this part of the machine here at the bottom. Both of these have speed control. Funny enough, the bow handle also has speed control. The advantage of this is you can pin the trigger, but you can set the speed, so you don't have to maintain trigger pressure to keep the speed where you need it. Brushless machine, really compact machine here. We've got the SDS blade attachment on there. As you can see, if I pop a blade in there quite quickly, try and do it without looking. There you go. See, fits in there nice and easy. And take the blade out, exactly the opposite. So you haven't got to worry about Allen keys or anything like that. That's long in the past. Those type of things.
Look, fundamentally, a nice, solid, brushless 18-volt jigsaw, more than enough depth of cut, that 125 millimetre. It's fast enough. It's very fast at 3,500 SPM strokes per minute, and it's got a stroke length of 26 millimetres. So that's, that's all stuff that maybe you don't care about, but that just basically means that this machine is more than capable of doing the majority of tasks out there. One of the questions we asked about, would you say that the bigger machine that we have talked about in the jigsaw special that was only maybe a few weeks ago, which was the GST 155 SC and BC, I think it is. I would argue perhaps not. Depending on their trade, as an apprentice getting into the job, you might find that machine is too specialised because it doesn't have the bevel function. And also it's probably it is obviously a much more expensive, much more powerful machine. Unless your trade requires that depth of cut, this machine's probably all you need.
Yeah, I would go for this all day long if I was starting out.
Yes. Ella, we might have a few questions. We can do a few more questions, do a few more machines, and then we'll call it a day.
We have a question related to the jigsaws, which I've just lost. Here we go. Stuart said he has a GST LIS and it's awkward to switch on being a lefty. Don't know if you have any advice for that.
LIS. That was the barrel grip non-brushless machine.
Yeah, it had the had the switch on the left side. So yeah, that would be awkward for a left-handed. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, 100%. That's not the case when it comes to the new versions of the machines. The barrel grip has the I believe that's the switch on both sides.
On the 155, yeah.
On the 155.
I'm trying to recall whether or not the... I'll go back and remind myself. I think this machine, the 125...
That's still going to have the switch on the left.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yep, I must admit, that's probably one of the only tools that we've got that isn't ambidextrous. But we have considered it on the higher end machine.
Yeah, the higher end machine has a switch on both sides.
Yeah.
But that is an electro switch rather than mechanical switch that we have on the 125. So yeah, unfortunately, on that barrel grip, we still do have the switch on just for the left side, unfortunately.
Do you know what? That's a fair criticism.
Yes,
we'll
no,
take that on board. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's power through very quickly because we've talked about a nice range of power tools for an apprentice. However, let's not neglect some measuring tools as well.
Yes, 100%.
Very, very briefly, because again, these are products that we've talked about in great depth. You've got one example of our detectors. So let's grab this one. First one I'd like to talk about very briefly is the GMS 120. This is a wall scanner. This allows a budding apprentice or someone who's less experienced, again, to have a little bit more idea of what might be in the wall before they start drilling.
It's usually a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, knocking on the wall sometimes helps, but you do need a lot of experience to even having a chance of trying to guess that right. You need a lot of experience, in my opinion.
Yep.
If you're starting out, you're presented with a wall, you need to put some holes in it, but you don't want to do, what you don't want to do is flood the house that you're working in.
Turning up to a job site on your first day of work and then putting a drill bit straight through a pipe, you're going to knock your confidence.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
On a slightly more serious note, if you go through a mains cable, you might have a bad day.
Yeah.
You definitely aren't going to impress whoever you're working for if you do that too, because either way, water strike, pipe strike, electrical wire strike, it's going to be a hassle to fix, and it's going to cost some money. It's going to cost someone some money to fix that, either on insurance or whatever. So. Good to invest in a nice affordable wall scanner that allows you to scan for metal, ferrous and non-ferrous, electrical cables and also wooden studs. So if you're looking for something to hit or not hit, this is the kind of machine you should purchase. Good at working on drywall, brick or concrete, depending what your application is. Not too expensive either.
No, all I would say with this particular machine is read the user manual.
That's right. It has a maximum detection depth of 120 millimeters. That's where the name comes from, GMS 120. However, must point out that's specifically for finding metal in concrete. If you're looking for other materials, then it will vary from 38 millimeter up to 50, 80 millimeters and up to a maximum of 120. So it does depend on what mode it's in and also what you're looking for. Feel free, we've done videos on this, live streams as well, and myself or Danny will be putting out a video very soon talking about how to use this in great depth. Yeah, we do get asked an awful lot at events, especially. So I bought one of these and it's showing up live everywhere. But you will find that people have got their smartphone in their pocket, their smartwatch on, jewellery, rings, the lot. All of those things can affect the actual machine. Yeah, they drag their feet is another one.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk about that in greater detail another time. But trust me, if you're starting out, this is a really good, cost-effective way on trying to avoid those unfortunate incidents that can happen. And as Danny said, if you're starting out, that's the last thing you want to do on your first jobs is to cause big trouble for everyone else.
Exactly.
Okay, so for the price, really worth it. The price of this pays for itself the first time you first time you avoid an electrical wire or pipe, it's paid for itself. Lastly, we'll look at last machine. I think you've got one as well. You got it there.
I got it.
Consider maybe. I mean, you've got an example of more traditional means.
That's a traditional measuring tool. There you go.
However, why don't you upgrade? It's the future now. It's 2024. How about invest in a laser measure such as the GLM 5022 or the 22?
Yeah.
Okay. Digital professional laser measure, okay, up to a maximum range of 50 meters. Okay, this is the generation 2, so it's got the new improved housing, making it far more robust, up to IP65 on this now. So it's completely dust proof, also very, very resistant to water. It's a low pressure water resistant, so easily able to handle the British weather out there. Okay, and it's accurate. It's got accurate, so plus 1.5 millimeter per 10 mil. So perfectly accurate for most applications. So it depends on what your trade is, of course, but most trades will need to measure something up. Even if you're just trying to measure up a room for, I don't know, wallpaper or tiles, for example, or if you're actually wanting to measure up
for HVAC, for even for capacity of a room, if you're trying to calculate for heating and ventilation. Yeah, perfect machine for you there. So you can get your square meterage of a wall, your square meterage of the floor, cubic capacity of the room. Loads of different options for this.
Now, we did a live stream already talking about this product. So again, check out our laser measure live stream where we go through all the different models. I've brought this one as an example because this is the entry level one. Has probably all the features most tradies out there will want, regardless if you're an apprentice or not. But if you really want to upgrade, you can go for the top of the range one, which is going to be the GLM 50-27 CG.
Yeah, there's quite a few different options with this one as well. This does indirect measurement, Pythagoras measurements as well. Yeah,
It's connected. Yep, it's connected, so you can attach that to the Measure On app and control it remotely or transfer data. And more importantly, as you can see from the front there, this is a green beam as well. But there's nothing wrong with the red beam starting out. It still does the job just as good. Feel free to pick whatever's in your price range. But we do think that a GLM, a digital laser measure, is probably a really quick one-hand job, right? To quickly measure whatever space you're working in, right? Especially if you're starting out, you might be on your own, for example. That's a really invaluable tool to have in your back pocket. Okay, Blitz. We went through a lot of tools again. Before we finish, we'll do a quick little roundup, or maybe what we would do, Ella, is ask if we've got any more questions in the chat before we finish for the day.
Yeah, let's go.
We've had a lot of questions that I've been saving to the end of the live. So Neil has asked, is the 16A charger you mentioned in the last live stream obsolete? The GL 18 volt 160?
Not that one.
Not that one. The C, the connected version of that, will be going obsolete at some point. I think it's still in kits at the moment, but it will gradually be phased out. So you've basically got all of the functionality without the connected features on the actual machine itself. The only thing you're going to miss out on is the
phone notification,
the telephone or the Toolbox app notification to let you know that your battery's charged.
And you can't review. You can't. I quite like it, to be honest. You can't check on the charging status of your phone live because but you can then just look at the front of the charger. But
you can still activate the 80% capping of the battery charge as well.
So if you want the connected version, obviously there's still stock available, but I recommend you buy that sooner rather than later because that will go out of stock eventually. But you're not going to lose the 16 amp ability, 16 amp charger ability because we're keeping that, as Danny said, as a standard, but just without the connectivity.
Exactly.
Stuart has asked, when will the Procore 18 volt plus batteries be available? I still can't source them online or in shops.
I would suggest going to the shops and ordering them. You'll probably find that they won't be carrying stock of them. But if you go there and special order them, then they should be able to order them direct from us.
Yeah. Again, I think you specifically said online. Perhaps, as Danny said, maybe speak to your local dealer if you've got a good relationship with them. Get them to order it in. If you can't get it online, we've been quite popular, probably because we've been promoting it quite heavily. Obviously, we did quite a few live streams on it, and actually, at the moment, I'm under the belief that they're priced really well for the amount of. Remember, it's 71% more performance.
72.
72. Oh yes.
I think it's 72. Or was it 71? Oh, God, you got me confused now.
70
so many numbers
plus,
in this live.
percent more performance out of the same 8 amp hours, just with the change in the technology inside. So that's, and we're not charging 70% more for the battery. So if you do the maths, it's quite a really good investment. So I think what's probably happened is that a lot of the stock has probably gone through. Don't worry, we make more batteries. So if you can't get it currently, don't worry, probably you can in the future from those dealers. But if you're really struggling, maybe pop in and have a word with your local dealer and see if
I think that's probably the best course of action.
Radine says he wants to know more about the new L-Box system.
Yes, so would we.
So do we,
We're off to Germany next month. One of the questions we're going to ask is what's happening with the L-Box system. We know some rumours, we've heard some things, we've seen some things online as well, talking about some of the new potential L-Box systems coming out. But officially, because I'm under the belief that's very much a leak, officially we can't tell you, actually officially we don't really know much, other than there were plans to do add some new products to the range.
Yes.
So maybe if we find out some more information at some point this year, we can tell you about it.
Bernd has asked, will the Bosch Green quick snap adapters fit the FlexiClick system?
No. No, completely different connection system. They almost clip on, similar to the Power Change Plus adapters for the hole saws. That's a very, ours clip together, the professional ones clip together and then twist lock on. Completely different fitment mechanism, so no, they wouldn't be cross-compatible at all. No.
A few quick-fire questions. Is there a framing nail gun coming out?
Eventually.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few nailers coming very shortly.
Yep.
We've been honest about this. Not a first fix nailer, not a framing nailer yet. We are desperately waiting for one.
We maybe get a bit more of an update when we're on the trip to Germany soon.
Yes.
Maybe?
But we've always made it very clear we're not going to have a massive range of nailers and not have a first fix nailer.
Of course. Yeah.
So when it comes out, we'll hopefully be able to tell you nearer to that date.
Yep.
But be rest assured, we're going to have a complete range of nailers.
Callum's asked, is the bi-turbo paddle mixer coming out in Q3 or Q4?
Well, we don't really do Qs.
No, we do Ts,
Yeah,
so thirds of years. So,
don't know yet because it's a bit too early. We have put out some imagery of some of the products coming out throughout the rest of the year. It's a big list of products. Maybe if you squint, you might be able to see it. The exact date, we don't know yet. As soon as we get a sample of it, that'll give us a better idea on when it might be coming out. If it's going to be this year or whether or not it might be early next year.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's the bi-turbo mixer, I think they're looking for. Is that right? Bi-turbo mixer. Yeah. So it's a bit early days for us to give you any inkling on when that's coming in exactly.
Jonas has asked, why is there no 12-volt tools in the preview recently shown on Instagram? I think he's referring to the roadmap.
Because I think you're right. Actually, that's a fair point. Because there isn't any.
We have a fantastic range already. It'd be interesting, actually, if you could tell us what you want in the 12-volt range, actually.
Other than that rotary hammer.
Other than rotary hammer, yeah, we know about that one. Yeah, so I'd invite people to pop a couple of comments in, maybe on the video when this goes live afterwards. Sorry, not live. This goes to a video afterwards. Pop a few comments in there about where you want the 12-volt system to go. Because
and even better, we have the 12-volt special, which has been very popular recently. Feel free to, if you haven't watched that, have a watch of that, and feel free to put some comments on that video too on some 12-volt machines that you like. Maybe we can pass that on to the product managers when we see them in a couple of weeks.
That's it. Yeah.
Radine has asked, will Bosch Pro ever make diamond tip screwdriver bits?
We do short grip ones, don't we? Which sort of cut into the head, the gold tip ones. Diamond, no. Not that I've heard of.
No, not that I've heard of either.
No.
Last two questions. Are the Bosch exact iron drivers only for production use? If so, are there any plans to introduce this technology into the other professional drivers' wrenches?
Yes, it's only for production line, IW we call it. But only for production line use, the exact range. Yeah.
You'll find that they are quite prohibitively expensive. They're very, very accurate. Obviously designed for assembly and manufacture.
It's all about precision.
Yeah. You need quite a lot of infrastructure. You don't just buy a machine to use those.
They need individually programming as well. So, and again, for that you have to have the infrastructure or the connection set up to do that as well. So yeah, there's an awful lot built into the system other than just buying the tools and away you go.
Yeah, but if you do have an assembly line, feel free to get in touch with us, and we'll be very happy to pass you on to some of our people on our team that might be able to sort you out. But if you're a sole trader, I think you might be a bit overkill for your needs.
Sit down before they tell you the price. 100%.
And the last question is, will you be at Tool Fair in Exeter?
Possibly one of us might be.
Could well be.
We haven't officially been invited yet, but I'm sure the invite is burning a hole in our inbox as we speak. We will hopefully get out to a few events this year.
Yep.
But which ones yet, we don't know. If there's events you want us to come to, if you want to meet us in person, let us know in the comments, and perhaps one of us will sacrifice our weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Yeah.
That's all the questions.
Perfect. Okay, well, we have run longer than we were expecting. I think the live streams get longer and longer.
I think that's why we don't put a clock in this room, so we don't know how long we're on.
We just talk until until my legs start to get tired, and then I realise we've done about an hour and a half.
As the guys behind the camera's eyes start sort of
That's right. They're
squinting and falling asleep.
Well, we're all wanting our dinner, I'm sure. Okay, so again, hopefully you enjoyed that live stream. If this live stream was interesting to you, if you were an apprentice, if you watched us live, or if you watched this video after it was live, and you found it beneficial, give us a like. Let us know in the comments if there's anything else or any products you think you'd like us to talk about for you as an apprentice. And again, if you have any comments about any kind of live stream topic that we haven't covered already and you'd like us to do, feel free to pop it in the comments, and Dan and I will have a look at it, chuckle to ourselves when we get asked to do workwear, I'm sure. And then we'll see if we can schedule it in at some point this year, because otherwise we'll be doing some topic in the next 2 weeks. What are we doing next? Does anyone in the team know what we're doing next time?
This might be wrong, but angle grinder safety?
I think we are doing bonded abrasive and angle grinder safety.
I think we are, yeah.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, okay, so, my favourite topic, health and safety.
Yes.
So feel free to tune into that in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to teach you things you don't know. I want to share some gruesome pictures as well, but I might not be allowed to because it's pre-watershed, but I'm going to have a lot of fun. So if you want to join us in 2 weeks, that'll be great.
Yeah, fantastic.
So thank you for myself.
And for me.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.